Hi everybody, here is a video for the last part of chapter 5 on mass. We're going to be talking about the Higgs boson. Sorry, I don't like red. With the Higgs boson, it's a little tricky to understand, but I'll do my best, and I've given you some additional videos to watch as well. The idea behind this is we have all these different kinds of particles, and some of them have mass and some don't. For example, sorry, I'm trying to get used to my pen. For example, the photon, which we think of as a particle of light, has no mass. But other particles, like bosons, do have mass. And so we need to understand this in the standard model. So a man named Peter Higgs predicted that there should be this additional particle called the Higgs boson, this additional field, back in the 1960s. And it was actually found by the Large Hadron Collider in 2012. So this is the same collider that we've already talked about, this particle collider where you're smashing stuff together at high speed. We watched a video on it, and you kind of just see what pops out. So they actually found this particle that had been predicted, and now we're going to try to understand exactly what it is and what it does. Okay. So here's a poll for you. You can look at that on your own time, see if you can answer that question. Hopefully we will answer it as time goes on. In fact, we're going to answer it right now. The Higgs field, okay, makes it hard for particles to change their speeds. That should sound familiar because that's what we talked about last class about acceleration, right? That you needed a force to get an acceleration going, and inertia makes it hard to change that mass. Inertial mass makes it hard for particles to get going, to speed up, or to slow down. So it's the same effect of having inertial mass. So this Higgs field basically causes mass. Causes is kind of a weird word, but that's kind of the idea, that we define mass then not as just stuff, but as inertia from a particle interacting with the Higgs field. It's a different way to think about inertial mass than what we did last time when we were just kind of physically playing with the Nerf guns. We're saying when a particle interacts with this field that permeates everything, that if it has a big interaction, that it will have a lot of mass. Okay, so that's what this picture down at the bottom is showing you. Okay, here's the photon. Photon has no mass. That means it's just going to pass right through the Higgs field. So no mass, high energy. As you get things that have different masses, right, electrons and quarks, it's like they're bigger, they interact more, they bump into the Higgs field or the Higgs bosons more. And so the bigger, in a sense, the more massive a particle is, the more it interacts with the Higgs field. Okay, so that's one way to kind of think about it. All right, let's talk about the Higgs boson. So the Higgs field is kind of like what particles interact with to get mass. The Higgs boson is just the particle that goes with that field. Okay, so we sort of mentioned these force particles before. The gluon went with the strong force. The photon goes with electromagnetic force. The boson goes with this Higgs field. It's sort of the same. Okay. So what it does is it sets the mass of other particles by how they interact. That's what that figure on the previous slide was showing. But we don't understand why. Why do particles interact differently? Why do some interact a lot, like some heavy quarks? And why, interact differently? Why do some hardly interact at all, like a photon that has no mass or no inertia or no interaction with the Higgs field? We don't understand why. We just kind of, it's a framework for trying to understand mass. We do know that it's not exactly a force, right? Despite what I said, it's kind of like those force particles. We don't think of it in the same way, as it's not one of our four fundamental forces, right? Like the electromagnetic force or the strong force. We think about the boson as sort of carrying the field in the way those force particles carry the force, but it's not a force. So we just want to kind of make that distinction. All right, so the Higgs boson in that way is different from other particles because it's not really a force particle. Okay, so here the force particles are here in orange, and it's not like a regular particle, a particle with mass. Those are things on the outside. That's why it's here all by itself in the middle, right? It's different. It's not a force. It's not a regular particle. It doesn't spin. That's another way it's unique. That's how we knew it was the Higgs boson that the Hadron Collider found, because it didn't have a spin, and all the other ones do. So that's how we confirmed that it actually was the Higgs boson that popped out of that particle collider. All right, so you can take a minute to think about what if the masses of protons and neutrons and electrons were different. We would have discussed that in class. But I'm going to end this video just by saying that you can go to our playlist, I've shared this with you, and watch. I especially want you to watch this first one on the Higgs boson part 2, what is mass? That is most directly to what we're talking about. It's only a couple minutes long, so definitely watch that one. For more information, you can watch these other two. The Higgs boson part 1 talks about how it fits with the other particles, and then this Higgs boson explained. The beginning talks about the standard particle model, the Hadron Collider, and then if you get to about, I think it's about 3.5 minutes, it talks about the Higgs itself. Okay, so definitely watch the first one, part 2, what is mass, and then you can watch those others for extra. And I'm going to end this video here.